Welcome to a special episode of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my review of the Twilight Zone. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. If you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction. You can also sign up for the Patreon page, where you will get, whenever possible, 2 extra episodes of the show every week of true paranormal stories from the web, and that's for all paid membership levels there. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research material, there we go, or travel expenses in some cases. And I think that takes care of everything. So again, this is a review, it's going to be a long series of shows, of a review of the Twilight Zone TV series. It's been amazing so far, and I'm looking forward to watching all the rest as well. I have a long way to go to watch all those as well. So, but anyway, this next episode, which is, let's see here. This is episode 15, I believe. So let me see here. Yep, episode 15, season 1. And it's called I Shot an Arrow into the Air. And it's about a rocket, a space flight, with 8 astronauts, and they crash land on what they think is an asteroid. As an area of desert and mountains off in the distance. Only 4 of the crew survived the crash. They don't even remember exactly how they crashed or what happened. And but their most of their supplies were destroyed in the crash. And they're in an extremely hot environment, and they have very limited amounts of water, and there does not appear to be water anywhere in the area. So I'm going to make this one fairly quick because there's not a ton here to talk about as far as paranormal things go. But what basically happens throughout the show is they start running out, and the show starts with 4 of them having survived. One of them is injured at the start of the show, and there's debate over whether or not to give that injured astronaut any more of their water, because half of the group is thinking that he's going to die anyway. So they split up after a while, and after actually this 4th member passes away. And the captain finds that one of the 2 remaining astronauts has killed the other, or at least let him die. And so it keeps on going, and there's just more and more tension and disagreement as to what to do in this group. And it comes down to this probably not very good person, this astronaut, this last guy, killing off the only other member, the captain actually of the group. Again, in order to get the last of the water, because there's less and less of it left anymore. And they were on their way towards these mountains, and he starts climbing over these mountains, not knowing what else to do. And eventually he gets over them, and he can see the bodies of the other two members of the group that he basically killed, laying behind him on the ground. And he eventually gets over the mountain. And again, the show is all about this shuttle that basically crash landed. Well, as far as all the mission control people know, it's vanished off of any of their sensors. Well, it turns out the reason why it may have vanished is it never made it into space. It crashed on Earth. And the show ends with showing this last deranged, murderous, the astronaut, last name is Corey. He realizes that they've landed in the desert outside of Reno, I believe it is, Nevada. And he's killed his other survivors, would-be survivors, for nothing. And that's where the show basically ends. Again, not a lot there to talk about as far as paranormal things, other than just possibly when things like that are done, do the spirits of those that have been murdered. I mean, you do hear about that here and there, where it seems like there's unfinished business, and they either haunt the area where they were killed, or they even haunt, in some cases, people. It's just really odd. And I wonder, and the show sort of hinted at that Corey kept on looking back at these people that he had killed. So, like I said, not a lot there to talk about in terms of paranormal things, but except that there have been reports, and they even get this with people that do help with criminal cases, finding the bodies of missing, deceased individuals. And it's not something that is, from what I've heard, completely accepted by law enforcement, but it does happen here and there, and it does seem to be, some people seem to have abilities to do this. So that's really all I had to connect that to this show there. So I guess that means we'll move on to the next episode here of this show here. Let me see here. Am I on the same one? Yep, I'm on the same one. So let me move on to the next summary here. This episode is episode 16 of season 1, and it's called The Hitchhiker. So the show starts off with a woman driving a car. Her name is Nan Adams, and she's in her mid to late 20s. She works as a buyer at a New York department store. I'm not sure what that exactly that means, but I guess working in probably buying some of the things that they sell, I'm guessing. But at the time this episode starts, she's on vacation, driving across the country to L.A. in California from Manhattan. And as she's driving, she has a minor incident on a highway in Pennsylvania. And she, at first, her car appears to be damaged, but she's able to get it fixed. Excuse me. But after that point, from then on, she starts seeing this man everywhere, just appearing on the side of the road, even near the service station where she gets her vehicle repaired. So she keeps on driving and keeps on going. And so she starts out getting a flat tire in Pennsylvania and survives, even though she loses control of the car. And and again, once she gets help from a gas station a mechanic, I guess you could say, he says, excuse me, that he's surprised that she survived, saying that you shouldn't have called for a mechanic. Somebody should have called for a hearse, or basically funeral. Anyway, so so he actually she calls for a tow truck, I'm guessing, or a mechanic, and they go back and get the vehicle fixed. While they're there, as she's driving and everything, and gets there and then drives away, she starts noticing this man in a sort of a coat, business coat, suit coat kind of thing. I believe, but he's wearing a hat also, and she starts seeing this guy everywhere, even though she's driving. Excuse me, and she's going as fast as she can. Really, she keeps seeing him as if he's tailing her, except he's hitchhiking. He doesn't have a vehicle of his own. And she keeps driving and starts wondering if she's losing her mind. And she keeps seeing this guy giving the indication that he wants to ride. And so eventually, and she's becoming more and more frightened of this guy, and she doesn't even know why, other than that he appears to be following her. She stops on a railroad crossing, or at a railroad crossing, and she gets stuck on the tracks for a minute. And she goes ahead, and she gets stuck. Like I said, she's able to get off, but even just as she gets off of the tracks and drives away, she sees the guy again. Excuse me. And she's now convinced that this hitchhiker is somehow affecting reality, or affecting her vehicle, or even just her mind, to try to kill her. So she continues to drive across the country. And she gets to another gas station in New Mexico. She gets stranded, actually, in New Mexico. Her vehicle stops, runs out of gas on a side road. And it's at night. And she gets to this gas station, gets there on foot, and it's closed. And even though she's able to raise the owner of the gas station, who was apparently, it's I'm not sure if this was done more in the past or not. He was staying there. It looks like it's a house attached to this thing. And anyway, she's unable to get this gas station owner to provide services. So meanwhile, after she fails to get any help at this gas station, she comes across a sailor, as in Navy, and he's able to get this gas station owner to give them gas to get the car going again, and she offers him a ride. And part of why she does this is she's so freaked out by this hitchhiker, and she sees him again, and figures, well, the sailor that she picked up must have also seen him, but he says that he didn't see anything, and he's wondering what's going on with her, questioning her sanity in a way. And again, that's not helping with her, because she's already doing that anyway. And eventually, he decides to leave and get out of the car and get out and just go on foot, because he's just not sure what Nan, this driver, is going to do. So eventually, she gets to Arizona, and she stops at a phone booth to call her mom in Manhattan, in New York City. And she calls the house, and she gets another woman there saying that her mom, Mrs. Adams, is in the hospital, and Nan doesn't understand why. Last she had talked to her mom before she had left, everything was fine. And the woman on the phone says that Mrs. Adams had suffered a nervous breakdown due to after finding out that her daughter, Nan, who was the one calling, had died in an accident in Pennsylvania. So here you have this character in the show finding out that she is not alive anymore. She didn't survive that accident. And this is an amazing thing here in a way, because there is so much discussion of this in the paranormal realm. How often do people, after they passed, not even realize that they have passed on, that they've died? Excuse me. And my voice is kind of scratchy all of a sudden, which is not fun for doing a show, but I'll get to it. And she hangs up the phone, gets off the phone, and starts to wonder if this hitchhiker she's seeing is somehow the personification of death, or a version of the entity known as death, who is waiting for her to realize that she has passed on, that she's been dead all along. And she starts to lose all emotion after sort of this phone call happens, and feels empty. And so she goes to the car and looks in the rear view mirror, and instead of seeing her, she sees excuse me, she sees a reflection of this hitchhiker, who says, basically, I believe that you're going in my direction or my way. So, and that's basically where the episode ends. Again, this, maybe even more so than any other episode so far, in a way, is connected to, especially the realm of spirits or ghosts. You hear that where people that have died aren't aware or not sure that they've passed, if they passed on or not. There's another story, and I think I've reviewed this in the show quite a while ago now. Another short story by Stephen King, and it features a group of people who died in a train derailment, and they're all they somehow all have made it to this train station, and they're waiting for their train, except they're not. That's what they were telling themselves. But one of the spirits there, spirit of a young woman, realizes what's going on right away and leaves, and her boyfriend, fiance, soon to be husband, supposed to be anyway, goes after her. And this whole story in this anthology by Stephen King, Just After Sunset, is about spirits and their ability to see things or make things appear to themselves anyway to be what they want things to be. In other words, they're at this train station, everything looks fine to them. However, when this couple gets back to the train station, they find signs outside the station saying it has been condemned, and they start to see, and this fiance, the husband, starts to really see things as they are. And again, it's all about perception and expectation, and how these things can affect reality when you are a spirit in these fictional stories. But I wonder how often that could be the case when it comes to spirits, when it comes to ghosts, in this world. When they're in the places where they used to live or work, or where they passed, do the places still look the same even after years and years have gone by to them, because that's what they want the place to look like, or think the place should look like, or that's what the place looked like when they passed? And so just a lot of just a lot of questions there that episode and that whole topic raises. And again, I have no idea how all this works, but it's something that I think is good to consider, because that it could explain some situations, especially if you factor in places that are renovated or reconstructed or destroyed, and then something new is put back there again. And this seems to stir up activity. This seems to get the attention of whoever may be there. And sometimes they like the changes, other times they don't seem to like the changes. And so you get varying activity because of the interaction between the people that are there in a non-physical form and the people that are there and that are alive in the traditional sense. And that can play out in any number of ways. So it was a really good episode of that show. And again, good short story that the show reminded me of. And I'm wondering now if those two are the only examples of that, or if there's other stories in fiction of that sort of show that kind of a thing happening. There probably are. I'm just not aware of them because no one has time to consume all of fiction. Way too much, even in just one medium, let alone all the mediums, all the different media. So, but yeah, I wonder about that with again, just with places, and when people live in a place for so many years, decades, even. Yes, there's residual energy in places. I do believe in that. But beyond that, when there seems to be intelligent interaction between people and then those that have passed on, is that because they want to be there? Again, that's one of the other things I've wondered about all these reports of places that are said to be haunted, so to speak. And again, that has such a negative, it's really viewed as a negative thing. But I don't think we can really know for sure what the afterlife is. And what if the afterlife for some people, some spirits, is to spend the rest of time in places that were important to them, that they enjoyed being in, whether it's homes or businesses, whatever. Why can't they be there if they want to be there? So, a lot of questions. That's all I have, as usual. No real answers except just that there are patterns in reports of sightings and experiences, and that's the kind of stuff that I look into. And that's also why I like doing these reviews of these fictional works, because they seem to mirror some of the things that are reported in actual experiences, accounts of experiences. And I think it's important to examine all of these things. And so, yeah, that takes care of that, I believe. So, yeah, we'll continue this next time. Of course, reviewing these shows next time. Got 2 more episodes of this review series for this week. And then I'm planning on getting back to the usual episodes of the show, the book reviews, and then the haunted places in the U.S. and the true paranormal stories from the web. I miss doing those. Planning on getting back to those really soon. So, and yeah, thank you all again for listening to all these shows. We wouldn't be at over 600 episodes without listeners and without support from everyone in all the ways. So thank you for that. And I'll talk to you next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.